A few days ago, I found myself in another victorious fight against Dr. Zombos, but this time he had enough. Instead of conceding, he used his time machine to bring me back in time. Where am I? Wait a minute, what the hell is this? Hello, welcome to Flipped. In this mod, plans are reversed and attack in the opposite direction. Even the name pea shooter is spelled backwards. Nice. Of course, once a zombie approaches us from the right, our plans are kinda... yeah, let's just say defenseless. What better way to start this video off than by having 43% of all your plans being banned? Wait. What? Here, let me explain. We encounter our very first problem with this challenge, and it's not at all what you think. You see, Plants vs Zombies by its nature is a very easy game. So easy in fact that people have already completed the game with explosives only and even Chomper only, rendering the whole challenge completely useless here. Well, luckily for me, the mod creators already thought about this and therefore released an alternative version of the mod, where you basically banned all of the broken plants for this challenge. With that out of the way, let's jump straight into the challenge. The entire first world was fairly easy with no major roadblocks ahead of us, so we'll fly over them relatively fast. 1.4 unlocked us walnuts, which will be very important later on in this challenge, and 1.5 was a little funny, because the walnut shot off in the opposite direction. Other than that, this didn't present any further complications. 1.6 was a joke since pole vaulting zombies are the most useless zombies in this entire challenge, for not eating your front plants and also dying to them for free. 1.7 was actually really challenging since this was the first level with 2 flags that we are introduced to. Having to deal with a massive zombie density while also not having access to a cherry bomb really hurts you here. If you play everything well and don't spend too many of your resources early on, in this case your sun, you'll barely be able to clutch this one with your lawnmowers. I also think it's worth mentioning that Snowpea absolutely sucks balls in this challenge. All he does is freeze the most right zombie, which literally does nothing to stop the zombies most left of you that are actually trying to eat your brains, so you essentially end up having a pea shooter for the price of 175 sun. Yikes. 1.8 was very easy and bucketheads can be stopped with walnuts and also snow peas. 1.9 was basically 1.7, but on easy mode. You have Repeater now, which compared to Snowpea is actually a really good plant, and bucketheads reduce the overall zombie density you get, since they prevent 4 basic zombies from spawning. Or in other words, instead of 4 basic zombies, only 1 buckethead zombie will spawn, so therefore you have less walnut pressure. 1.10 can be hard because of its massive zombie spawn, but look at what we have here now. That's right, conveyables are the only levels where we have access to the banned plants we previously couldn't use. Mainly to make all the X10 levels not impossible to beat. Cherry Bomb now will play a huge role in beating the final level, so we can finally move on. The challenge seems to be pretty easy so far, but don't be fooled. The mod will get really insane later on. 2.1 was interesting since mushrooms are flipped now too. This makes a lot of things really awkward for you since normally all it takes is 1 mushroom to defeat 1 basic zombie. Well, turns out that depending on the zombie speed you get, 2 mushrooms will be needed to consistently defeat 1 basic zombie. Another interesting thing to mention is that Newspaper Zombie becomes even worse in this challenge since his entire newspaper gimmick only works against front attackers, making him therefore a worse counted zombie. 2.2 was easy to beat, and it also shows us the potential problem we have while encountering this world. Well, you see, the mod creator wants you to suffer a lot in this mod, so Gravebuster is banned in the original version. I think you see where this is going. The tombstones will do a pretty good job at blocking your attacking plans. 2-3 was another introduction level, and therefore nothing too special. Screen or shield zombie is absolutely pathetic in this mod for obvious reasons. 2-4 on the other hand was slightly harder because of the increased gravestone spawns, but still nothing too crazy since we're just in the beginning of this world. 2-5 is literally no different, so we'll just completely skip it here. 2-6 introduces football zombie to us, and with no explosives and no jumper, we're going to have to beat him down the old-fashioned way. I mean, seriously, not even Hypnoshroom is allowed in this mod. 2-7 already gave us the first spacing problems due to the tombstones, but remember what I told you earlier about PvZ being a very easy game by default? Sadly, this also means that only one football zombie will spawn during the entirety of the level. 2-8 introduces dancing zombies to us, which can be easily countered by simply using fume shrooms. If there is any advice I can give you, then it would be to never use Scaredy Shroom in this challenge. He suffers a lot from the rule changes from this mod, so it's best to just completely ignore his existence. We also approach 2-9, which is the hardest night level out of all. Use fume shrooms for the best DPS to cost ratio and you should be golden. 2-10 was probably the easiest X10 level in this entire playthrough, since you're literally being flooded with the most broken plants in the game. Doomshroom. Whenever I play a level that features 2 flags, the zombie density is really messing me up. So you're probably already aware that World 3 features 3 flag levels, so the question arises, how do we go about them? With no real permanent plans and no explosive support, you'll, on top of not dealing enough DPS, also encounter massive sun shortages, so I'd advise you to plant at least 3 rows of sunflowers down. With that, we enter 3-4, where we also gain access to 3-peater, which is by far one of the most impactful plants in this entire mod. It's one of the only plants that affects other rows, meaning it doesn't become useless right after being planted, so it's essentially a semi-permanent plant that can still produce value while being on the field. I didn't really have a strategy when playing 3-4, but that will change soon. 3-5 can be easily beaten without the use of pea shooters, thanks to the deadly walnut cherry bomb combo. And then we have 3-6. You see, 3-6 features Zambonis. Do you see the problem here? In case you don't know, Zamboni leaves an ice trail behind him wherever he goes, which makes planting plants behind him impossible. On top of that, any explosives and spikeweeds are also banned in this mod. So how do we actually deal with Zamboni then, you might ask? Well, there's only 2 things we can really do here. Option 1 would be to simply just rely on our lawnmowers. Well, this would work in 3-6, 3-7 also features Zambonis, but with 3 instead of 2 flags, so we can cross out this idea. Option 2 focuses more on dealing enough damage with your 3-peaters before the Zamboni can get a chance to reach your lawnmower. 2 3-peaters usually will be enough to do this job. However, there's still one problem with this solution. How do you deal with 2 Zambonis parallel to each other? Well, in this case, you either restart the level and hope for better RNG next time, or you try to squeeze out a win with your lawnmowers if this happens. While not ideal, it's the best solution that we have. Also, this is why I started to implement my very first real plant setup in this run. By committing a lane with a lot of 3-peaters and protecting it with a walnut and a repeater, we ensure that 2 out of 6 rows are covered by our passive 3-peater lanes, which gives us a lot more resources to work with. For 3.8 and 3.9 I used the same strategy, but I also wanted to experiment with Torchwood since it is a cool way to deal damage to multiple zombies. While it's still very expensive, it provides you good AoE damage, which is good for dealing with the exponentially growing zombie density, especially in 3 flag levels. In 3.9 we also have access to Tall Nuts, which is in itself a very good plant, especially under our circumstances. In 3.10 I was able to build a 3-peater setup on lanes 2 and 5, and whenever zombies threatened to eat my defense, I'd use my instant plants to prevent them from breaking through. Tall Nuts and Spikeweeds are also a very nice way to protect lanes 2 and 5 from the masses of zombies. For 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 as well as 4.4 were pretty manageable to beat. It's also worth mentioning that countering balloon zombies in 4.3 and 4.4 becomes really awkward when you can't see where the zombies are coming from, so you end up also having to protect your planterns in the process. Also, since we're just in the early fog levels, the fog isn't advanced by a lot, so your early game mushrooms aren't prevented from the blocked view. 3-peaters become unusable due to its high cost, but you also get to use Tall Nuts, which will help you a lot by reinforcing your defense, especially in those 2 flag levels. 4.5 felt unchanged and was as usual pathetically easy due to the number of squashes you get from the vases. 4.6 introduces digger zombies. Two very good plants we unlocked for this challenge are Starfruits and Split Peas, which by this mod's logic would simply give us a 125 cost repeater that counters digger zombies, and a 125 cost pea shooter that has also a built-in 3-peater effect. Almost too good, if you ask me. Turns out the mod creator isn't stupid, so he knew that Starfruit and Split Pea would simply break the entire purpose of the mod. Remember the brackets at the very beginning? Aha! So now we know what he meant by that. Split Pea as well as Starfruit both received a massive rework. Split Pea shoots 3 peas backwards, but also costs 300 sun, so he essentially becomes what 3-peater was supposed to be. Starfruit has a different shooting pattern and only attacks zombies that are behind him now, but he also received a pretty hefty cost nerf of 550 sun. 4.8 and 4.9 allowed me to use pumpkins, so now I was able to improve my previous 3-peater walnut and repeater setup into a Starfruit, pumpkin and Split Pea one. While more expensive, it's also more effective in controlling the waves of zombies. It's also a very nice way of keeping your plantains alive in the front. Have you ever experienced the feeling of betrayal before? Well, I did in this level, and here's how. For the entirety of this playthrough, Blover has been a banned plant, but you get to see him in 4.10 as a tool to fend off balloon zombies. Having your cacti die right after being planted meant that I was enticed to use blowers in order to deal with the balloon zombies. But here's the catch. Every plant in this mod is flipped to its opposite direction, and so is Blover. Meaning I unknowingly shoved the balloon zombie right up my throat by using the blower here. After this embarrassing defeat, I struggled to get the necessary RNG needed to beat this level again. So I ended up having to restart a few times until I finally managed to beat it. Twice. Welcome to level 5.1. Wait, 5.1? Uh-oh. Okay, let's just do a small recap. We haven't unlocked any flower pots yet. We don't have any explosives or insta plants. None of our plants can detect the zombies from the front. And lastly, we haven't unlocked our roof cleaners yet. Please help me. Because of all the reasons I just listed, this level was a complete nightmare to play. In fact, it was the single adventure level I got hard stuck on for the longest time. At first, I didn't really have any setup or strategy to use, and to no one's surprise, it didn't get me anywhere. After literal hours of constant failing at this level, I went ahead and asked my Discord server for advice. Here I was shown this setup that Exter, one of the mod creators, has used when he playtested this level, and while this finally gave me some sort of hope in beating the level, it was still extremely RNG dependent. There is one specific 3-peater formation you can use for maximum efficiency, but it has one massive flaw. It requires that almost all of your zombies spawn outside of lane 3. As you might imagine, this would take me a lot of restarts, but at this point I was determined. It was my only hope of ever progressing from this nightmare, so I was committed to making it work, and in just 10 hours I was finally able to beat this demon of a level. The rest of World 5 felt easier than skipping your leg days in the gym, so therefore we'll also speed through them very fast. 5-2, 5-3 and 5-4 can be easily beaten with the same 3-peater formation, except now we have access to flower pots and therefore a way to defend ourselves from the zombies in lane 3. By protecting it with a split pea from behind. When you see a ladder zombie, let them ladder your pumpkins and try to not use a magnet room nearby. This way the ladder can permanently stay, therefore your split peas become overpowered as now they can't be eaten anymore and therefore they're immune to zombie damage. 5-5 is easy if you use your cherry bombs efficiently. Same as 3-5, having a walnut or in this case a pumpkin with a cherry bomb makes for a very deadly combo. 5-6 and 5-7 features catapult zombies which can be killed via star fruits. We also unlock garlics by now, which makes our 3-peater formation even more deadly by using a garlic in lane 3. 5-8 as well as 5-9 features Gigantua, and I'll be honest, he was a bit harder to kill than I initially imagined. Him bypassing your garlics completely meant that he could just tear your 3-peater formation up at any time. I use snow peas with split peas to kill him, but I'm sure that there are probably plenty of ways to efficiently deal with him. We approach the final Zombos fight, and I'm sure that you're already familiar with the Zombos lane exploit, but just in case you're not, I'll give you a quick explanation of how it works. Plants vs Zombies basically has this game mechanic, where zombies can spawn for 2 waves in a lane that has just lost a lawnmower. It was intended to make the game more forgiving towards beginners, but it completely breaks in the Zombos fight, since no wave progression ever occurs here, due to Zombos simply being treated as a zombie by the game. This means that once a lawnmower is triggered, no zombie will ever spawn in the same lane for the rest of the fight. We'll pair this exploit with another game mechanic to break the game even further. You see, Gigantuas will never spawn in lane 1 outside of the survival game modes. This was done so the big textures wouldn't be able to cover off your seed slots. It's like how Dancing Zombie can never spawn in lanes 1 and 5 outside of survival, ensuring him to always spawn at least 4 backup dancers. This means that all the zombies will be concentrated in lane 1, without any Gigantuas ever appearing, therefore making it possible to beat this level without the use of any catapults. Normally this video would have ended right here, but what kind of person would I be if I wouldn't show you all of the minigames and how to beat them? We start off easy with the 4 beginning minigames, which are Zombotany, Walnut Bowling, Slot Machine and It's Raining Seeds. Out of the 4 of them, only It's Raining Seeds gave me a good fight for my money. I had to restart this minigame a solid amount of times, because of bad RNG mainly, but obviously it's possible to beat if you get your Doom Trims and Cherry Bombs on time. In Zombotany I used the 3-peater formation from before and it ended up carrying the whole level. Walnut Bowling and Slot Machine are pretty self-explanatory and might require a few restarts in order to beat them. Invisighoul gave me some serious problems. Normally you would place your pea shooters and kernel poles down and once they detect a zombie, they would attack in that lane. But here you have to blindly guess where the zombies are going to be. A trick you should use is to listen to the arrival of the next wave and then count up to 5 seconds before using your attackers in column 9. This way it has a chance of inflicting damage without being eaten straight away. Otherwise you need some serious luck with your ice shrooms, since this level will be extremely hard to beat. Whenever you see a walnut taking a lot of damage at once, it implies that there are many zombies stacked in that single tile, in which case it gives you a very good opportunity to maximize your squash value. So always try to pay attention to the amount of damage your walnuts take and act upon that information. Beghouled, Beghouled 2, Zombiquarium and Big Trouble Little Zombie were insanely easy to beat. Beghouled might look scary with no real attackers, but since you don't kill off any zombies, the waves also won't spawn very fast, since PvZ's wave progression speeds up the more zombies you damage and or kill. Meaning all that ends up happening is that zombies will get stuck on walnuts while you spam all the matches until you get your desired match number. And then we have Bobsled Bazana. Yeah. I know this does not look like a hard level, but this was, after Last Stand, the minigame that took me the most amount of time to beat. Since you have to somehow beat the level without ever being able to plant anything in the ice, and without also being able to melt down the ice, so it just stays there permanently. The obvious solution to this level is Starfruit with Tallnuts, but even this requires RNG to some extent, since 2 Zamboni spawning in lanes 1 and 5 early will mess you up really bad. On top of that, Starfruit is also very expensive in this mod, with a solid 550 sunk cost. Once you're stabilized though, you should be good, and also make use of the Starfruit glitch in the water. In case you didn't know, whenever you have a Starfruit in column 9 in the pool, for some reason its weird hitblocks will hit any zombie that just entered the pool. And it even attacks them with all 5 projectiles at once, so you have no problems killing the basic zombies off without even using a pumpkin. Columns like you see him is barely beatable if you use your explosives in a very efficient manner. While Zombie Nibble, Zombie Quick can be beaten with a garlic setup and the Starfruit trick from earlier. Whack-a-Zombie is Whack-a-Zombie, and seeing stars will take you a few restarts depending on how fast you get your Starfruits going. Costing 550 sun means that once you wait too long, you'll automatically lose to the massive zombie density without being able to sustain any kind of setup. Remember what I told you earlier about Last Stand being the hardest minigame to beat here? Well, I wasn't kidding, this level literally took me multiple hours to beat. At first I tried the split P Torchwood garlic setup, but as you see here, the density was way too much for my Torchwoods to handle, so I had to change it up to a Fume Shroom Magnet Shroom garlic setup, which also took me so many tries before I was finally able to beat it. The main problem was my sun management. The sound counter is insanely tight on this level, meaning any wasted sun, for example by repairing a garlic too early, will come to bite you on later. I can't stress to you how often I lost my runs due to falling short on 50 or even just 25 sun at the very end. Zombie 2 was beaten with the same old Starfruit water trick. Bowling 2 forces you to restart if you explode, and that's really bad. Giant Walnut obviously are less effective in here, since they don't clear out an entire lane anymore. Portal Combat was glitched, so it wouldn't let my projectiles enter the portals. Otherwise the level gives you cherry bombs and torchwoods, so it was more than beatable. Pogo Party was easily beaten by the use of tall nuts, and even without them, just using Magnet Shroom with walnuts would do the same trick. Since they skip over your Starfruits, they also won't damage any of your attacking plants, making this level very easy to beat. The final minigame I need to complete now is Dr. Zombos' Revenge, and with the tricks from before, I did an excellent job at beating him, since the only thing that changes in this minigame compared to 510 in the adventure mode is that Zombos has just more HP now. For us, this only means that you need to use more jalapenos in order to beat him. And so, we defeat Dr. Zombos for the second time in this video. And if you ask me, he more than deserves it after what he has put me in through at the beginning. Wait a second. No, wait.